Hey guys, welcome back to the Tea Party Podcast. It's the podcast where you find new friends and new music. This week, I am joined by a Northwest native who grew up in little old Bellingham, Washington, and part of a very musical family. She just dropped new music at the end of July, and she's here to tell us all about that and what's coming up next. Let's welcome to the show, Minnie Murphy. Minnie, how the heck are you?
Hey, Ty. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm doing well.
It's been a while trying to set this up, so I'm very excited that we got you on. I'm really excited about what you have coming up, but we'll tee off with Minnie next.
It's time to tee off with Ty. Here comes the first four.
Okay, here we go. Question number one of the first four. If you couldn't be in the entertainment industry, what job would you have?
Well, there's I don't know if you've heard that new Luke Combs song. And it's like all about that. What would I do if I wasn't doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, I mean, this is all I've ever done. Like doing music, I'm kind of the same way. Like no matter what happens, I'll always be playing and writing. And but I'm also interested in other things too. I love cooking and gardening and interior design, and so maybe something in those fields. But I think I just, I love playing the piano so much and, just writing out my feelings. And it's such a therapeutic practice that I'd probably be doing it either way.
This is probably no surprise to you, but I feel like I get that answer more than anything else with this. I think at this point, when you're that deep into it, it's that way or the highway, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's just fun singing and entertaining people. And it's always a new experience, a new thing around the corner, a new gig or new people to work with. So it's exciting in that way too.
Well, yeah. And you hear a lot of people say that they love their job because it's something new every day. But really, as a musician, I mean, and a songwriter, that's definitely true. I mean, you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again or people are going to get bored.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about this for question number two? If I give you control of the music at a party, what's the first song that you're going to play?
I really like that new Dua Lipa and Elton John remix of Rocket Man.
Oh, that is a good song too.
It's just a fun vibe, and I think it's so cool that he's singing on it, and he remade the song instead of just like, okay, you can sample my big hit. He like actually made it into a new dance song, and so I think that's really cool. I love Elton John.
I don't think I've ever met anybody that didn't absolutely love Elton John. And you're right, adding this new element to it, it's like a completely different song, but it's still got that kind of Elton John finesse, I guess.
Yeah, it's like he took a piece of the Rocket Man and then she, I don't know who, I guess she wrote part of that rest of that chorus, kind of rewriting that. I think that was really cool. Like a lot of artists don't do that,
Mm-hmm.
But,
no, for sure.
So probably something kind of dancey like that. If I were at a party, I'd want to keep it up.
That's a good answer. Okay, question number three. If you could bring any fictional character to life from a TV, movie, book, wherever, who would you hang out with for a day?
Well, my son loves Curious George, so I'd probably bring him to life because he's just an incredible monkey.
He is.
I mean, he's always doing odd jobs and he's really smart and traveling in outer space. And seems like everybody in that show is like, okay, George, you can do this.
Yeah, so I think we need a real life Curious George. I think you're spot on there.
Yeah, then my son would have someone to play with.
Okay, here we go. Last question of the first four. If you could have an unlimited supply of anything, whiskey, tacos, scotch tape, guitar strings, whatever it is, what would it be?
Oh my gosh.
This one makes you think a little.
Yeah, an unlimited supply. Well, I mean, money comes to mind, but I probably shouldn't say that. Let me think. I don't know. I mean, trying to think what I run out of a lot. Maybe candles. I love candles. Okay. I'm always burning candles, and it seems like I go through those a lot.
There you go. Do you have a favorite type of candle?
I actually really like the unscented ones.
Okay.
I was into the scented ones, but now I'm just kind of more into it for the atmosphere of just like having that glow all around the house of candlelight.
There's something special about candlelight. There really is.
Yeah, it really kind of, especially in the fall and the winter, I think like just kind of has a nice mood to it. You know, I like to have a candle lit all the time, pretty much during the day too. Like, you know, kind of keeps me in a good peaceful zone and stuff.
Definitely. Well, Minnie, that was the first 4. Thank you so much for playing along with us. But now let's get to know you a little bit. Let's pull back the curtain and give everybody kind of the Cliff Notes version of growing up in our shared home state, and tell us how you got into music.
Oh, that's cool that you're from the Northwest too. Where are you from?
I was born in Spokane and graduated high school in Kitsap County.
Okay.
And then moved back to Spokane, and now I'm hanging out in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow. I've never been to Vegas.
Really? You'll have to come hang
out sometime. One of
those
places that, I definitely want to go. I loved growing up in the Northwest. Bellingham is actually closer to Vancouver than Seattle. Mm-hmm. So my dad would we'd take the ferry ride up to Victoria and go to White Rock, and he would get vocal lessons from this really awesome vocal coach up there who was like this really interesting lady that had like a really neat house, and she was such a great vocal coach. She actually brought people who had lost their voice completely, like got their voice back. And
oh, wow.
So it was kind of neat, like being so young and getting to watch my dad do those vocal lessons, and then just the ferry ride up there. And but yeah, like it's so beautiful. The ocean, I really miss that because, there's no ocean in Nashville. But yeah, it's just like the air is so clean. The water's so clean. But yeah, my family did music for a living up there. And my mom, she's a classical pianist, and my dad's like the country rock singer. And so they had a little family band that they'd make their living just playing the taverns and pubs and local bars of Bellingham and Ferndale, and it was the Jimmy Murphy band. So it was an interesting childhood in that way, because they'd play gigs and not come home till like 2 a.m, and we'd be up still, so I was always kind of like a night owl, and I still have that. Like, I love the morning too, but I was kind of raised in that sort of up all night type of lifestyle, and got to sit in with my parents' band, and my dad would call me up to sing. And ever since I can remember, it was, music in the house, and then my sisters would come and visit and sing at Christmas. And so I knew pretty early on. Well, we were forced to have piano lessons too at like 10 years old. So, but for me, like, which wasn't always that much fun, it was like, you got to get a piano lesson. But once I learned the basic theory, it was like an addiction for me. Like, I'd wake up in the morning and I'd go straight to the piano, and I just like, loved hearing my mom play. And I was like, oh my God, I got to learn how to do that. And so I just sit there and just play the same chords over and over again, just kind of zone out on it. And just singing a lot, trying to imitate people on the radio. I just knew that I always felt like music was something that, you could be or do or say anything if you wanted to do music, you could just explore your freedom in that way. And so it had a lot of appeal to me. And then of course, like my mom and my dad were kind of helping me develop my voice and my songwriting and my playing and stuff. So
well, and
yeah.
You mentioned your sisters would come up and play. A lot of folks may have actually heard of one of your sisters, Jamie O'Neill, who had quite a bit of success in the early 2000s. Did you ever feel pressure to become a musician surrounded by so many talented musicians growing up?
I didn't really feel pressure until like I got my first record deal, because that was kind of a family deal where I had been writing songs with my mom, and so she was also signed, and my dad was managing me. So it was a big deal to move to Nashville as a family, and so that was hard when that deal didn't work out, because I kind of felt like I let everybody down. But the choice to do it was definitely my own. I mean, I think I was more inspired, like hearing Jamie sing was just like, oh my God, and watching her put on her makeup or whatever, watching her videos, it was just like really cool. And then my other sister, Samantha, she was a great artist as well. And yeah, I just tried to soak it all in, I never kind of thought of it as some kind of competition or anything, but I know that, like, some people would assume that, or maybe try to compare us, but she's such a powerhouse belter, and I'm a little more, I'm into like Alison Krauss and kind of, softer dynamics of like jazz and things. Like, we have different tastes, but there's similarities there, I guess. And I just appreciate the inspiration and the role model that she's been. She's always included me, and my sister Melissa have gotten to sing backup for her on Jay Leno and the Grand Ole Opry. Yeah, so I mean, she could have hired anybody, but she's always been really sweet and inclusive, and we're very close. So
did being that close to her as she was kind of going through her journey as an artist herself, did that kind of help you along the way kind of know what to look out for as you started doing it yourself?
I mean, she was so busy when she was really popular and blowing up and stuff. Our relationship has gotten closer over the years. At that time, she was touring all over the world, and then she just had a baby, and and she was just so busy. So we didn't bond too much in those times. It was sort of later that we started writing together and getting closer. But yeah, I think like I still kind of had a bird's eye view from it. I mean, there were things she told me, like, you dance with the devil or you stay in your seat. I don't know exactly. Like, she was just meaning like play the game. Because, the music business, you got to watch out for people that might try to, con you out of money or whatever. There's sharks and it can be kind of weird, and you just got to be careful. And so she said stuff like that before, and but I didn't get too much advice, really. It was just sort of, I don't know. For me, it was just watching her do her thing, and as soon as she opens her voice, it's all over. So it's like that. I think. Well, I mean, I think learning things from her wasn't like a direct teaching from her, but maybe just learning like how strong you have to be, because
Yeah, kind of watching it from the outside almost, but getting a close-up view of it.
Yeah, I think she's mentioned how, it is hard to put yourself out in the world, like, and to be scrutinized, and she always kind of talked about dreading that, like, oh, I don't want to be out there again, like, because, it's like everybody's wanting a piece of you and everybody's judging you, and you have to be really tough. She's super tough, but when she's done with the performance, she leaves it on the stage, and I'm always like, how was it? Was it okay? I get all insecure and doubt myself. But like, I think I've learned from watching her that she has a real confidence that I really admire. She's just fearless. So I think I've admired that and learned that that's kind of how you have to be.
Oh, for sure. And then you said that the whole family, kind of you and your parents, all kind of moved to Nashville together. How much did that help you, having that support system when you got to Nashville? Obviously, you can kind of watch what was happening with Jamie on a bigger scale at one point, but having your family with you in Nashville when you're chasing a dream like that had to be pretty important.
Yeah, we're super close, and my dad, that's all he's ever done his whole life. He was him and his sister were pop stars in New Zealand growing up, and then he moved to Australia, and his first wife, they had Jamie and Sam, and they were a family band that they were like the Partridge Family of Australia, and they opened up for Dolly and Elvis, and like toured all over and stuff. And so he has a lot of knowledge about the business. And so I mean, it was still challenging being like 19 and wanting to break away, and like, but yet having this contract where it's like we're working together. And so there was that, but I think it was a little different because they're so experienced. And so lots of long talks and, analyzing, and it was tough at times. It was tough to lose the deal and then have another deal and that not work out and whatever, but just ups and downs. But I think there was definitely, it was really special to share the music with them and write with them and come up with things and be like, hey, listen to this, and play them whatever I'm thinking about, and so that was really, really cool and special. And my mom is such a great songwriter and great painter and piano player, and my dad's a great writer too. And so, yeah, it's just it's been a family thing, for better or for worse. But I definitely feel blessed and lucky to have them as parents. So,
well, and when you got to Nashville, along with being able to play or to sing with Jamie at the Grand Ole Opry, you also did some work with Martina McBride. How did that come about?
Well, it was just it was through Wendy Moten, actually. I don't know if she's on The Voice right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I worked with her. I don't know if they're engaged or not. Husband David Santos, if they've gotten married yet, but her partner David Santos, he's a really great bass player, and we did some gigs, and he produced a song of mine, and so she sat in at one of my gigs, and then her friend Drea Renee, who sung backup for Michael McDonald, she called about the Martina gig, that she needed a backup singer to do the CMA Fest. And so that's how that happened. It was just kind of friends, like you stay here long enough and it's actually kind of a small town. I mean, you get sort of known and amongst the other singers and people that do this for a living, and people will call for different things, and you just kind of have that network of throwing gigs and helping people out. And it's pretty awesome to be able to do that for people and have them do it in return.
I think that's one of the really cool things about the music industry in general that people may not understand it as much as maybe they could, is just how important the networking, especially in a place like Nashville, how important that is just to do something like that. Like, you just happen to be in the right place at the right time and know the right people to be able to perform at CMA Fest with Martina McBride, which is one of those stories that I'm sure you're going to hold on to for forever, just because it's a really cool moment, but also the fact that you can look back at everybody that you talked to that made that happen really just kind of speaks volumes about why so many people move to Nashville to chase this dream, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's, you never know what can happen, even just playing at a club out here. Like, I played a long time at Sambuca, and there were some movie producers that came in, and that's how I got my song Bluer Than Blue and Redemption Road, singing in that movie. And so you just never know what can happen just working for tips anywhere. Like, that's how Rascal Flatts got discovered at Fiddle and Steel in Printer's Alley. They were just playing there, and Gretchen Wilson was singing down at Bourbon Street. So yeah, it's like, I mean, it doesn't happen every day, but I know a lot of people get kind of stuck down in the Broadway scene, and it can be a trap, I guess, in a way. Like, when I was playing Sambuca, there were people that were saying, like, do you really want to be the wallpaper? But for me, I always looked at it as, hey, I'm making a living playing, and I'm keeping my chops up. I'm learning. I'm becoming a better musician and entertainer. And so it's always a good thing to play in front of people, no matter what the gig is. But some people choose not to do that, and try to keep themselves like only playing original music, but so it can be a double-edged sword. You can get stuck playing the cover gigs and bars and stuff, and then never end up playing your own music or writing your own music or seeing if it works in front of a crowd. So you have to sort of be conscious of that as well. But then on the other hand, it's good to know how to, entertain a crowd and what works live and be able to, because when you're playing, that's kind of how you learn how to play music, is from learning other people's music first. So it's just all a balancing act, I guess. But
definitely. And now that we've talked about kind of the performance side, I do want to pivot a little bit and talk about your songwriting. But before we do that, I want to give everybody a chance to kind of hear what the Minnie Murphy sound is. So we've got a song here for everybody. It's your newest release. It came out in July. And we've actually got, you've got something special with that going on next month, or actually this month, but we'll talk about that after everybody hears the song. Give us kind of the story behind where this song came from.
Yeah. So I've been writing at this publishing company for a while now, and my publisher will sometimes give us song titles, and his business partner had a title called Get Over It. And he said, want y'all to write this. So we thought about it, and a lot of times my co-writer and we end up going towards a drinking song, and that's kind of where we went with this. But I thought, let's make it like that old school sound, because I really like that kind of that country sound, from the 90s or even prior to the 90s. But so we went that direction with it, and it's just like, your whiskey heartbreak song is. But I think what made it special for me was when John Conley made the track, and I just really loved the vibe. I was listening to it every day, like in the morning, and I was like inspired to make a collection of that type of country music that feels like an old friend, feels like what I heard growing up in my dad's station wagon and stuff. And that kind of, I think going through the pandemic, it was comforting to have that nostalgic, familiar kind of thing. And so, yeah, I hope y'all like it.
Well, here, let's give everybody a chance to listen to it. This one's called Get Over It by Minnie Murphy.
There's some Chardonnay sitting up on the shelf, and just like me, it's gonna spend the night by itself. I don't wanna waste a glass, 'cause it's a waste of time. It ain't strong enough to drown a love that's died. So I'm shooting whiskey, 'cause you ain't missing me. Saying goodbye fell off your tongue, and you gave up on us. Tomorrow won't change a damn thing, and I'll have nothing to show for it. But it's the only way I know to get over it. When I'm all cried out and my tears have dried, but my heavy heart's too much to set aside. And the sleepless sober nights have gone on too long. Well, I'd do anything to feel nothing at all. So I'm shooting whiskey, 'cause you ain't missing me. Saying goodbye fell off your tongue, and you gave up on us. Tomorrow won't change a damn thing, and I'll have nothing to show for it. But it's the only way I know to get over it. Ooh, I'm pouring on the pain, 'cause you ain't coming back again. So I'm shooting whiskey, 'cause you ain't missing me. Saying goodbye fell off your tongue, and you gave up on us. Well, tomorrow won't change a damn thing, and I'll have nothing to show for it. But it's the only way I know to get over it. Yeah, tomorrow won't change a damn thing, and I'll have nothing to show for it. But it's the only way I know to get over it. To get over it.
And that was her newest single. It's called Get Over It by Minnie Murphy. It's got over 100,000 streams on Spotify, and it's still gaining traction. I looked this morning, and between when I looked this morning and when I looked just now, it gained another 1,000 streams. So it's definitely got some really good traction, and you're doing something even more special with it. Tell everybody what you've got going on with it there.
Yeah, so we're going to release a Spanish version of Get Over It called Superarlo. And the idea just came to me. I was listening to Ralph Murphy, who passed away not too long ago, but he was over at ASCAP. He was like a really intelligent music critic and worked in all kinds of publishing and everything. But he was talking about Latino music, and my best friend from childhood, Kim Tate, she moved to Mexico and she was a sports journalist for Mexican soccer teams. And she interpreted the song. And I say interpreted instead of translated because you can't really exactly translate everything. You know, it has to be sort of interpreted to fit the phrasing of the melody and everything. So she's actually a co-writer on it now. And because, yeah, she kind of helped me figure out how to best interpret it. And I just always love the Spanish language and find it really romantic and beautiful. And I just thought it'd be fun to reach a new audience and try to bring that audience into country music, and as well as bring country music to them and people into, I feel like, you know, Spanish is such a part of our culture now that I feel like it should almost be in the curriculum to, you know, have to learn it at this point. I want to teach my son Spanish, and I took German in high school, but I speak a little bit of Spanish, but I just thought it was really fun I always feel like there's been a connection with like Brooks and Dunn doing My Maria, or, you know, people always kind of tipping their hats to that kind of thing, you know, is all throughout country. And so, yeah,
Definitely. No, that makes a ton of sense, actually. And really, you're reaching an audience that you probably haven't reached before with the other songs by releasing it in that way. But I do kind of want to pivot just a little bit to talk about what your songwriting process looks like. Obviously with Get Over It, we heard how that song came about, and the Spanish version, you've involved some other people. But when you sit down to write, do you like to write alone, or are you a co-writer, or kind of depends on the situation?
I love co-writing. I love writing alone. Typically, I feel more energy comes in with a co-write, and it's like you have to finish the song. If it's just yourself, then sometimes there'll be, I mean, I got a lot of unfinished things that I've started myself, and it's like, oh, I'll get to that. And then months and years go by and it's just sitting there unfinished. So there's definitely like more incentive to finish things with another person in the room. But sometimes my proudest songs I wrote by myself, you know, like, because it's such an overwhelming emotion that I just have to finish it, and it just comes out like real, like the song I wrote about my son. I was watching my fiance and my son were sleeping, and I just kind of got real sentimental and overwhelmed with emotion. And I just wrote that song that night, just watching them sleeping and just thinking about, you know, how we hold on tighter as we get older to the ones that we love, you know, because we realize how precious life is and how fast it goes by. And so it's kind of all about that.
Well, we talked about it a little bit. You play piano. Is that the only instrument you play?
I play guitar and a little accordion. And I can do a couple drum beats on the drums, but pretty terrible on the drums.
When you're sitting down to write, especially a song like that just kind of comes to you in the moment, are you typically sitting behind the piano to write the melody along with the lyrics, or are those separate processes to you as you move along through the creative process?
It can go either way. Sometimes it's just an idea, and then I start to write a melody that goes with the hook line, you know. And then other times I just want to play, and I'll just sit down at the piano and just start playing, and then I'll just start improvising let things flow out, like the other day I was just sitting down and kind of played a simple little change, and I was like, I want to know where this is going. I want to see. I don't know. I just thinking about like being in a relationship. And anyway, the song title is called Compass. And it's just about like, be my compass, like lead me down your golden road, kind of thing. But I didn't know what the song was going to be until I started talking about all the construction that's going on in Nashville, and they're tearing down Music Row, and, they're tearing down houses just to put up a concrete garage or a hotel. And it's kind of like, where is the world going? What happens when people aren't conscious of taking a meaningful direction, or like the means to the end can be the end. I mean, you got to think about what every little thing is going to add up to. And so sometimes I just I don't know exactly what I'm talking about sometimes until it just comes out and I look at it, and then I'm like, oh, compass, that's a cool idea, and then I start to write around that.
Well, I think that's the perfect transition into the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about, which is the new LP that you have coming out next year. Is Compass going to be on that?
No, I actually haven't even finished writing that song. That's one of the ones I've been writing by myself. Yeah, it's still sitting there, but I almost got that one done. But
well, tell us about this new LP. It's called Evergreen. It comes out next year, right?
Yeah, Evergreen. So I always wanted to do a collection of classic country songs, and that's kind of what this is. It's a little hybrid of some other stuff too, but for the most part, it's very throwback, retro country, lots of steel guitar, heartbreak, and then love and second chances and becoming a mom. And then also there's a song about coming from a musical family called The Pick Didn't Fall Too Far from the Strings. And it's just about like, the apple didn't fall too far from the tree. Like, people always lose their guitar picks. So we had that idea. Like, I actually don't even play with a pick, but it was sort of about growing up, watching my parents play. But yeah, so there's a collection of, it's family oriented. It's kind of, it's got a familiar sound to it, but and even in the song Evergreen, I have a line like, it's all been done before, but this is my version of it. This is like, let's do it again for old time's sake kind of thing. Like, let's tip our hats to that type of country because it never goes out of style. And I love the new country. I love all the beats and the bros country too. I write a lot of that stuff too. And I love pop. I love jazz, rock, alternative, everything, classical. But I always felt like it was in the cards for me to kind of do that style of country because it's so soulful, and it's just fun to go there and feel that kind of simplicity when the world is so complicated now. And I think a lot of, like, I keep bringing up the pandemic thing, but that feeling of wanting to go back to nature and simple times, where things made more sense and they're more organic. And that was a part of that whole craving as well that I wanted to fulfill with this collection of songs. So, and I did a song, my plus Evergreen has been there this publishing company's been on Music Row since 1983, and my publisher wrote a Randy Travis song, and I recorded one of the songs that he wrote called Then Again, and it's very classic country. And so when you walk in the building, it's like a time warp. There's like old charts on the walls with parentheses in the title of like, you broke my heart, but I'm still picking up the pieces. Like these really long.
Oh, that's really
titles,
cool.
Things like that. And so it's it inspires that time. And so, yeah.
Sometimes and this is super nerdy of me, but sometimes when I get bored, I'll go back 20, 30 years and just look at, what was charting this week that long ago. And I always have to listen to a song that's got parentheses in the title. I don't know why, but it just kind of draws me to it.
Yeah, I had to get a song. That's why the pick didn't fall in parentheses too far from the strings. I had to write a song with the parentheses in the title because nobody does that anymore. And like, that was such a thing. And they were strange titles, like just things that were so off the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so weird. How did you write a song about that? But
go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's all.
So we actually have the title track off of the LP here for everybody, obviously called Evergreen. What do you say we give them a sneak peek?
Yeah.
Well, here it is. It's Evergreen off of her upcoming LP by Minnie Murphy.
Take me up to the mountains where the trees don't lose their leaves. Let me be reminded of some timeless things. Dust me out for no 45. Drop that needle down. Take me back to the good old days and leaving that crackling sound. You know that's evergreen, the way it's supposed to be. It don't lose its shade or fade away. It stays with me all that long, lonely yodeling and howling at the moon will always be evergreen. Take me down to the river where the purest water flows. Let me drink from the fountain where you never grow. Open up that old guitar case and play me 3 chords and the truth. I wanna hear that cowboy cry and walk a mile in his boots.
one was called Evergreen. It's the title track off of Minnie Murphy's upcoming record, and this comes out in 2022. Where can people keep up with what you have going on, Minnie? What's your website and what are your social media handles?
Yeah, so my website is minniemurphymusic.com and Instagram, Minnie Murphy Music, Facebook, Minnie Murphy Music, and I'm just starting on the TikTok thing. I'm a little behind on the trends, but that one's just Minnie Murphy, I think. And then there's some, if you just type my name in on YouTube, there's a few different YouTube channels, but some music up there as well. And so it's everywhere on Spotify and Apple and all that.
Well, awesome. Minnie, it's been an absolute blast to have you on. We'll definitely have to do this again in the future, especially as you're putting out more and more music. But we end every podcast the same way. It's called the Final Four, pretty similar to the way that we kicked it off. Just 4 questions that kind of make you think. You up for it?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's time for the Final Four.
Here we go. Question number 1. What's your favorite venue that you've ever played in?
Oh, probably the Ryman.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's
Yeah.
got to be hard to beat by anybody.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, and I love the theater type sound. I also got to do the Bell Court. That was really cool.
Ooh, I've heard great
Before
things
the
about
old
that.
Bell Court, before they redid that one, before they renovated it. I love the theater thing. So, yeah.
How about this? Question number 2. Who are the 3 most recently played artists on your Spotify? And you can cheat and look if you want, or on Apple.
Oh,
I feel like with the
Actually,
kiddo,
my
it might be some kiddo
Spotify,
songs.
something with my Spotify went weird, so I haven't even been using that. But on my YouTube, I can tell you what my YouTube is. My last song I looked up. Let me see. Show all history of YouTube. It's not pulling up. I think it was, I don't know. It was some mashup of, that must have been something Johnny played. I don't know. It was like a mashup of Eminem and Tupac and Dr. Dre and Miley Cyrus. That's weird.
Oh,
I don't know.
that all
I
kind
think
of made sense until you threw Miley in there, and now I feel
Yeah.
like I have to go find that.
Yeah, it was a mashup of some party in the USA, I guess. But I think my sister played that at our Thanksgiving karaoke thing we did. I think I was playing well, Melancholy Gimaka was one, Bing
Okay.
Crosby. And then I don't know. I love that Hot Girl Summer, even though that's an old song. I like the remix clean version because it's like whap up up whap up up whap. Hot Girl Summer. She's a big old freak. It's almost that I don't know. It's like a dance.
I love
rap
it.
song. But and then I was listening to Gloria Stefan. Come shake your body, let me do that conga.
Okay.
we
Songs
have
that just
little
get
dance-
stuck in your head.
Yeah, we have like little dance parties, me and my son, and I'll chase him around the house and try to find some fun songs.
That's awesome. Okay, how about this, Minnie? For question number 3, when you're out on the road, what's the one place that you always have to stop? A store, restaurant, gas station? Where would it be?
Well, I'd say I'd have to stop for some food and probably Mexican restaurant with margaritas.
Okay.
would be
There you go.
good, but
I can get behind that.
yeah, I'm kind of a foodie, so I love like Indian food and Thai food, any kind of cool ethnic place I like to check out. There's like an Ethiopian place on Nolensville. they just opened an Indian restaurant here in Bellevue that I really like. And I don't know, I like to check out little mom and pop stores. I love like thrift stores and the Goodwill and like just looking at trying to find cool things. So yeah, if there's a bunch of like junk sitting out and it's like, some kind of thrift store situation, that usually calls me in.
I feel like thrift stores in an area that's not your like hometown always have way better finds than what you can find at the one down the street. Maybe it's just because you end up going there more often.
Yeah, but, there's some cool stuff out in the country. Like if I keep driving and go down Highway 100 or Highway 70 and get into those areas, there's usually some really cool stores that have like, just rusted old wagon wheels or something that's like, old shotgun from way back or something, it's like, you never know, like old Pepsi sign or something. I like stuff like that.
Nice. That is, that may be the best answer we've gotten to that, because I feel like thrift shopping is very underrated. But Minnie, we've got one more question for you, and take as much time or as little time as you want to answer this one as you want. But if you could pick one thing for people to take away from your appearance on this podcast and your music in general, what would it be?
Oh,
this one makes you think a little bit.
Well, I would say, for whoever's listening, to answer these questions for yourself, because, sometimes you don't even know yourself until you start talking about things like this. And I always forget how much I enjoy these types of interviews, because it kind of gets me juiced up. They're like, hey, you know what? Thrift store shopping sounds cool right now. All right, maybe I'll go try some Ethiopian food, or maybe I'll, learn a new instrument. So it's fun to kind of, I would say, whoever's listening, think about that for yourself and get inspired to eat new food, to play a new instrument, or find a new store, find a new thrift store, or travel somewhere, or just try something new. I would say, I think like doing that Spanish song, that was something new. And it's always good to just try new things, because we get locked in the same schedules and routines, and we forget how beautiful the world is and how much there is out there to learn and discover. And so we have to kind of push ourselves into doing new things. So,
and that is a great takeaway, especially now we're heading into the new year in 2022. You heard it from Minnie Murphy. Try new things. Do that.
Yeah.
Well, Minnie, it's been a blast. Thank you so much for jumping on here, and I'm excited to hear the song on the 10th, and I'm excited for your record to come out next year.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, guys. That was another episode of the Tea Party Podcast. It's the country music podcast where you find new friends and new music like Minnie Murphy and Get Over It.
Go tee off on the like button at facebook.com/Tea Party Podcast. This has been a Tea Party Communications production. Theme music created by Jesse Quandt. Announcer voiceovers by Jay Gwinn. And as always, hosted by Ty Pisani.